As of 2022, Rover holds 37 land speed records. Rover also hasn't existed since 2005, but that's beside the point. A company best known for being old-fashioned and perennially bankrupt has more land speed records than Ferrari. Possibly the most impressive record Rover holds is the title of world's fastest estate car, set in late 2003. Although the record car was a modified mg-ZTT and not a Rover, I'm including it on this list due to the similarities between the ZTT and the 75. In the early 2000s, the newly independent mg-rover sought to inject some excitement into the brand through the sporty MG range. They decided that breaking a land speed record with one of their cars would be a good way of doing this, but none of their cars were remotely fast enough to attempt its stock. Thus, mg-rover turned to renowned Mustang tuner and race team Roush for help. Roush fitted a 6-litre Ford V8 in place of the standard Rover 4-cylinder. This engine was then upgraded to the best of Roush's abilities and ended up producing around 765 horsepower. Almost 800 horsepower in a modified Rover 75. Beyond the hugely powerful engine, SoCal Speed Shop were entrusted to modify the rest of the car using their experience in land speed record car building. Almost everything was then custom built for the car, and at the end of the process it was barely still a ZTT, however it was still original enough to only count as modified. Bonneville veteran Pat Kinn was chosen to drive the car at the 2003 Bonneville Speed Week, and drive it he did. Kinn reached an astonishing 225 miles an hour in the modified MG, far exceeding the team's goal of 200. mg-rover now hold the world record for the fastest estate, something that even Ferrari with their FF and GTC4 Lisso could not top. So that's the most impressive record. What about the other 36 that I mentioned? These other records are all UK records and are all held by the same car, the Rover 220 Coupe, better known as the Tomcat. The records set by the Tomcat are all endurance and long distance records, and were set over a 24-hour period in late September 1992. At this point, the coupe was brand new, and Rover needed some great publicity for the model. Now, you're probably wondering why, if it was a company-sponsored attempt, the cars were covered in sponsors. This was because initially the attempt was to be made by a group of engineers without the wider company's blessing. 2 cars were built for the attempt, both regular 220 coupes apart from safety equipment and endurance fuel tanks. This work was done in Rover's own engineering department, by people with experience in the 216 one-make race series. You probably recognise the location of the record attempt if you read car magazines or watch car shows. It's Millbrook Proving Ground, specifically their high-speed bowl. Using this bowl, the Rovers could reach their top speed of 150 or so miles an hour, and stay there until needing to refuel. With the location sorted and the cars ready, it was time for the first attempt, on August 29th, 1992. As you can tell from the earlier date of the first attempt, it was not a success. 8 hours in, there was a driveshaft problem, and even lowering the speeds of the cars didn't help. This attempt was abandoned, to the frustration of all 150 or so people involved. The next time the team could regroup was 4 weeks later, in September. The day for attempt number 2 arrived, and the team was met with a bleak forecast. It was overcast, raining, and fog was due. These were awful conditions for cars that were going to be going 150 miles an hour constantly. Nevertheless, attempt 2 went ahead as planned, even through the night and the thick fog that came with nightfall. The driveshaft issue from the first attempt had been fixed, and the cars experienced no further mechanical issues throughout the day. 24 hours after the apprehensive start, the team had done it. The Rover was in the record books, beating the previous records in the class set by a Vauxhall Astra GTE. What the team achieved that day was incredible. They covered more distance than the Le Mans winner that year. 3,322 miles in 24 hours, by a Rover of all things. The 220 Turbo set 37 records that day, but one has since been broken, but still, 36 records isn't bad. Add that to holding the title of the world's fastest estate ever, and it's a wonder why people ever mocked Rover. Oh yeah, that might be why.